welcome you. We thank you for doing us the honor of being our presenter today. A little bio on our presenter. She is a graduate of the Department of Pharmacy, University of Benin. She is currently a consultant clinical pharmacist at Rema University Teaching Hospital, Aba. She possesses the following qualifications. She's a B Farm holder. She's a Farm D holder from Uniben. She's a certified management consultant of the Institute of Management Consultants of Nigeria. She's also a certified management specialist with distinction in time management from the London Graduate School. She's also a certified marriage mentor and relationship coach at the Institute for Marriage and Family Affairs in the USA. She's also a fellow of Institute of Management Consultants of Nigeria. She's a member of the West African Postgraduate College of Pharmacy and other pharmaceutical bodies like the PSN. She's a writer and a self-publisher on Amazon, as well as the current ICPN nominee. Our presenter tonight has so much going for her. She's an Amazon in both the pharmacy profession and outside the profession. And we believe that today is going to be a very good day. The presentation is going to be a very good one, and we are going to learn a lot from her this night. So we call on our presenter, Dr. Chinwe Odeka, to make her presentation.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Dr. Obiajuru Wayemeru. It's an honor to be here at this time. Let's just run because of time. I hope I'm audible enough.
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are. Ma, please, 1 second before you go on. Please, colleagues, if you have any questions during the course of the presentation, if you have any questions or comments, you can either raise your hand or you use the chat box to send in your questions. Then please, let's kindly make sure we are all muted all through the presentation till it's time for comments and questions. Thank you. Ma, you can go ahead, please.
Okay, I'm waiting for the screen to come up, or is it just my end? Are we having the screen already shared?
Yes, it's
up. The screen is up.
I'm not doing it, but let's see how it goes. Okay, so on the outline we have the introduction, the definition of the different stages of development, the current nutritional status of under 5s in Nigeria, geopolitical zone. We have the nutritional requirements per development stage for preterm or low birth weight babies for healthy 0 to 6 months, 6 to 12 months, 12 to 36 months. We have the short and long-term consequences of poor early child nutrition. And finally, the role of pharmacists in bridging this gap, because pharmacists have a role to play. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be having this presentation. Now, I started with this quote from Erik Erikson. There is in every child at every stage a miracle of vigorous unfolding. Children are a miracle, but for that miracle to unfold, it depends on what you feed that miracle. Okay. Children's experiences and diets in their first 5 years, it has a significant impact in their developmental outcomes later in life. I mean, a child becomes what the child feeds on. It applies as far as physical food is concerned, but then it actually applies in every area of life, because a child is like a blank check or a clean slate with nothing written on him or her. What you feed him or her, that you get in return by the time the child grows up. Okay? Now, research has shown that only 25% of parents recognize the importance of the first 5 years. That is a gap. Only 25% of parents recognize the importance of the first. That is a gap already. That means the remaining 75, the awareness is not there. Okay? Now, teacher training does not adequately cover the early years, despite the fact that the children are still within the period when they begin school. Because of that lack of awareness, it could cause failures to provide the best environment nutritionally, physically, and in every other way for the children, and their progress could be limited. Now, let's get to the definition of the stages. Development simply describes the way a child
the background
I hope-
music. The background music.
Am I still audible, please? Can we still hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah,
we can hear you.
Okay. So development, it simply describes the way a child grows, changes, and develops skills, not only physically, but socially, emotionally, cognitively, even spiritually, and communicatively. Now, the child development has been broken down into 5 stages. You have the newborn, 0 to 3 months. You have the infant, 3 to 12 months. You have the toddler, 1 to 3 years. You have the preschool, that's 3 to 4 years. You have the school age, that's 4 to 5 years. Now, for every developmental milestone in a child's life, there are expectations. So if you have a newborn that is 0 to 3 months, as far as communication and speech goes, there are expectations. And the examples are there: coos, cries, eye contact, the physical, increasing amount of control over the arms, legs, trying to turn. Those of us who have kids, those who work with children, pediatrics unit and all of that, they can relate with these. Basically, then for the infant, 3 to 12 months, there are things you look out for. Now, these things are not cast in stone because there are slow developers, there are fast developers. It's not cast in stone, but it gives you an idea, like what to look out for at any given time. Okay, and you don't put unnecessary pressure on the child or on yourself as a caregiver or as a parent or guardian, but then you just have to be sensitive. Okay, so for the 3 to 12 months, you have under communication and speech still, you have the babbles. For physical, the baby may be able to sit upright. Social and emotional, forms attachment to favorite persons. Cognitive, arranges subjects into patterns. For the toddlers, they can use at least 50 words, depending. Some could even do more than that, okay, if they are fast developers. Then physically sits up easily, social and emotional, develop subject permanence. Cognitive, they are more aware of self and others. For the preschool, they speak more clearly, able to ask questions, and then they could produce their grammatical missiles, you know. And physically, they can move without support. They try to scribble, to draw. Emotionally, they're imaginative, they role play. Cognitively, knows their phone name and gender. Now, if you don't teach the child to know his or her name at that age, the child would not know. It's not automatic. So it still boils down to what you feed that child. And then school age, 4 to 5 years, the child can answer simple questions about stories, recite nursery rhymes. Emotionally, they're more expressive, makes friends. They could easily communicate and express themselves, okay? Now, what's the importance of early child development? It's very, very important and critical because it lays down the foundation. I think the screen, oh, here, yeah, you are there now. It lays down the foundation for the rest of the children's lives, okay? Now, the brain is at its most receptive during the first 5 years, and it impacts greatly on development of neurological connections. That means some things you miss out on at this stage, it will be very difficult to correct. There is optimal influence on child's brain function. More specifically, early child development has a direct impact on the children's behavior, their social skills, emotional boundaries, ability to form close relationships, school readiness, level of achievement, even the predisposition to certain diseases. Yes, predisposition to certain diseases can actually happen if something goes wrong during early child development. Okay, so you have you have this charts, you have the social emotional development, you have the physical development and the health. Yes, you have general learning competencies, you have the cognitive development. Okay, now let's look at the current nutritional status of under fives in Nigeria. We have a challenge. Remember the gap we talked about 25% of parents being aware of the importance of early childhood development. Okay, just keep that at the back of your mind. Now, the challenge we have with under fives, that is children of under 5-year-olds in Nigeria, malnutrition is a direct or underlying cause of 45% of all deaths of under 5 children. 45% is a very large number by the time you've done your mathematics. Nigeria has the second highest burden of stunted children in the world. Wow. An estimated 2 million children in Nigeria suffer from severe acute malnutrition, which is characterized by severe wasting. Only 2 out of every 10 children affected is currently reached with treatment. That's another gap. 2 out of 10 affected is currently reached. That means the remaining 8% are yet to be reached. Now, looking at this table of the current nutritional status of under fives in Nigeria, you look at the global acute malnutrition. The global acute malnutrition, it consists of the moderate acute malnutrition and the severe acute malnutrition. So it gives you a global picture. Then here you look at the severe acute malnutrition, the zones, see the zone, the north central, northeast, northwest, southeast, south zone. You look at the underweight, you look at stunting. Underweight is when a child weighs lower than he should or she should at a given age. Now, stunting is when the a low height for age, that is stunting, okay? And it is actually chronic. Now you have acute malnutrition in women. The reason women are coming up in this chart is because most of the times when a mother is pregnant, how balanced her diet is will affect how the baby turns out, okay? So at that point of formation, that's why most times when you have something like some congenital deformations and stuff like that, it started from the mother. So women are not exempt. They are not exempt. So the pregnant women should be made to understand the importance of feeding right, feeding well. Yeah, in a country where things are so tough right now, but there is still a way. There is still a way out. Okay, now the current nutritional status of under fives in Nigeria geopolitical zone, I'm looking at the next chart. As at 2007, as at 2011, and as at 2017. You see there seems to be an increase between 2011 and 2017. The moderately wasting prevalence is very loud, okay? Current nutritional status of under fives in Nigeria. Exclusive breastfeeding rates have not improved significantly over the past decade. That's another gap you can relate with. Breastfeeding rates have not improved. Stunting still has a high prevalence in children under 5. They are stunted. A child of 5-year-old is expected to be at a certain height, but you see a 5-year-old looking shorter, thinner. That's stunting. And it's a marker for chronic undernutrition. Now, nutritional gaps could be filled by taking major and deliberate steps towards encouraging adequate nutritional content for the respective early stages of development. There are different foods of the different nutritional content for each of the different stages as we outlined them. Now, the role of diet and nutritional uptake in the first 1,500 days of life cannot be overemphasized. And it has been aptly captured by the quote below. we're all familiar with the phrase, you are what you eat, but it would perhaps be more accurate to say you are what you ate as a child. Someone is saying slides not showing. Are we having problem viewing the slides, please?
It's showing. We can see it.
Okay, thank you very
It's
much.
showing.
Ma'am.
It's showing.
Okay. So maybe it could have been a network challenge on the person's part. I just needed to be sure that everyone is seeing it. So we're at the nutritional requirements per development stage. So just like there are milestones, those milestones, the markers you look out for as the child is developing, there are expectations, what you should feed the child at any given time. For the preterm, for the low birth weight babies, optimal nutrition is highly essential because they are, how do I put it? They came into the world having the odds against them already. Like there's already a tilt, there's an imbalance. When you're talking about preterm babies, low birth weight babies, they have to put in way more in terms of fight, in terms of feeding, so that they could overcome the challenges that are peculiar to that stage of development. Now, the first choice of human milk for feeding preterm infants is the expressed breast milk from the mother, expressed breast milk from the mother, and the second choice is donor pasteurized human milk, like donor milk. If for any reason, health reason or whatever reason, the mother's milk wouldn't do, a donor's milk could be sought, and it's still human milk. Now, benefits of the breast milk, we all know that better feed tolerance, lower risk of necrotizing enterocolitis and other infections. We know that the colostrum is highly boosted naturally by God with antibodies, okay? And the importance of that can't be overemphasized. Now there's reduced length of hospital stay and risk of rehospitalization, lower risk of hypertension, and just like I mentioned earlier, predisposition to chronic diseases later in life. It could actually be determined at such early stages. Improved neurological development in later years lowers the risk of adverse morbidities in adulthood. Now, the breast milk is more than enough to give what the baby needs. But when you're talking about low birth weight babies or preterm babies, sometimes you may need to fortify the breast milk to get some things extra that the baby needs, okay? That is where you talk about the fortified human milk, or you talk about the formula milk. Okay. Now this the nutritional requirement per development stage. That's the table. You're looking at that, comparing the normal term baby and the preterm baby. If you looked at the total, you looked at the carbohydrate, the fat, the protein, you would see that the preterm requires slightly more than the normal term baby for obvious reasons. And the same applies when you come to their minerals and trace elements. Calcium stands out. For a normal term baby, 45 to 60 milligram per kilogram for a normal term baby, but for a preterm baby, 120 to 230. You see that? So this is where fortification can come in. Under iron, you see 1 for normal term, you see 2 to 4. So these are cases where when we talked about fortified human milk, so depending on what you're looking to achieve per time, that would determine what kind of fortification you go for. See the vitamin A, 333 for normal term, and for preterm, 700 to 1,500. So fortification could come in at this point for that preterm baby. Okay, then look at the next table, looking at the nutritional requirement for 0 to 6 months, 7 to 12 months, 1 to 5 years. One thing is clear, there is a graduation, upward graduation in the nutritional requirement. So even though you start with the breast milk, it means that there comes a time the breast milk may just not be enough anymore. Let's proceed. Now for the healthy newborn, 0 or at birth to 6 months, the birth weight doubles by 6 months and triples within the first year. Okay, so during the first year, approximately 98 to 108 calories per kilogram of body weight each day. Nutritional needs depend on the child's growth rate. The basis of the infant's diet is breast milk. At birth to 6 months, breast milk will do. That is why WHO would always tell you exclusively breastfeed for 6 months, because from 0 to 6 months, the nutritional needs can be adequately provided by the breast milk, and then fortification is allowed as well. Now, when reaching 6 months of age, the infant's given iron fortified cereal. Yeah, exclusive breast milk for the first 6 months. Now, from 6 to 12 months, that is when you start introducing some other things gradually. Breast milk is sufficient till the first 6 months, and then you can gradually start bringing in the solids, gradually, or semi-solids. The baby's nutritional demand increases from 6 months up beyond milk, hence the need to bring in these other ones. Now, for 12 to 36 months, a 1-year-old needs about 1,000 calories. I'm at 12 to 36 months. Please, could you move to the next slide? Thank you so much. A 1-year-old needs about 1,000 calories each day. Now, the amount varies with each child's build and activity level. Like, we know that every child is unique. These things are not cast in stone. I'll keep saying it. So just like they develop uniquely at their different rates, the same goes as far as their feeding is concerned. Okay, but you just have to be sensitive to know when it's dropped, like, this is below normal. This one, I'm not understanding it. And then you look for something to do about it. Now, the serving size should be about 1/4 of the adult size. Do not restrict cholesterol or fat in the child's diet until age 2. Cholesterol is very important for growth and cognitive development. Now, avoid giving heavily spiced, salted, buttered, or sweetened foods. In our excitement, we want the baby to try out everything and all of that. Whatever you bring, you give, but you have to watch it. Heavily spiced foods, salt, buttered, or sweetened foods, please avoid them. Allow the children to experience the natural tastes of food. Okay. Now, on the average, between the ages of 12 and 36 months of age, a child will need 46 calories a pound of body weight. The best eating habits that can be taught to a child. I'm on to the next slide. The best eating habit that can be taught to a child is for them to continue to follow their sense of hunger. Do not schedule their meals. Allow them to eat when they are hungry. They could eat as many times as they want, because their stomach size is still developing. So you don't expect them to eat large quantity of meal that will serve. You say this is your morning dose and that is that. No. They take their food in bits and allow them to just eat whenever they are hungry. Now, in the first 2 years of life, avoid placing restrictions on the fats. Like we said, cholesterol is very important for the development of the brain. They need their fat. Now, avoid foods that could easily obstruct their airways during swallowing. As much as you want the child to try out things, please, those foods that could easily cause choking, avoid it so that you don't endanger the child's life unnecessarily. Okay, consequences of poor early child nutrition, like we've said earlier. You have impaired brain development, you have lower IQ. So sometimes you call a child stupid, you are silly, you are foolish, can't you think for yourself? You are just calling your child all manner of names. And then you forget to ask yourself, what did you feed this child? Or has it not occurred to you that what you fed this child while the child is growing up in the early stages of child development could affect the IQ. Now you know that it could cause lower IQ. You have weakened immune system. These are damages that happened between first year to fifth year of life. And if you are unaware as a parent, you will fail to link it up to the child's later years. You would forget and you think this child is just being like this. Meanwhile, you played a role in what that child has become. That is the awareness. Now we know where to come in as pharmacists. Now, long-term consequences, you have lost productivity and healthcare costs, you have premature deaths, you have smaller stature, you have greater risk of diabetes and cancer. Now, the role of the pharmacist in bridging the gap. The multifaceted application of pharmacy is highly advantageous in bridging the gap. We as pharmacists, we are very vital in the healthcare system. We play a very, very vital collaborative role. We are also the first point of call for communities and parents. We serve as the bridge between the healthcare facility and the community. The community comes to us first before they get to the hospital because of proximity. And of course, we are very skilled in communication. So many a times we are able to relate more with them than they would get when they eventually go to the hospital. So these things it arms us, it equips us, it draws them to us, it draws the community to us. And the onus lies on us to not disappoint them as far as providing intervention goes. Pharmacists can contribute to infants' optimal growth and development by you provide parents with information on breastfeeding, indications for formula feeding, introduction of complementary foods, and vitamin and mineral supplementation. Pharmacists can provide early access to support and resources, which is critical, especially when new mothers feel overwhelmed. Education, awareness, we have what it takes to bridge that gap. Pharmacists can counsel pregnant and postpartum women on breastfeeding recommendations based on guidelines. Resources from the American Academy of Pediatrics and World Health Organization, they promote exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months, followed by breastfeeding and complementary foods for at least 1 year, and beyond as desired. Now, in conclusion, at every stage of development, from conception to birth and afterwards, proper nutrition is key and a rate determining factor to proper growth and development. Breastfeeding remains the premium source of nutrients in the first 6 months of life. Introduction of other foods should be gradual and tailored to the needs of the toddler from 6 months upwards. Pharmacists have a vital role to play in bridging the nutritional gap resulting from poor diet in the first 1,500 years of life and beyond. I close with a quote from Frederick Douglass. It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chinwe Udeka. That was an awesome, short, precise, and educative presentation. Thank you very much. Before we go on to questions and comments, while the presentation was on, some more National ESCO members joined us. I can see Dr. Motihat Ululawal, our National Secretary. I can see Dr. Peter Alphonsus, Pharmacist BC Bright. You're welcome, Ma. I can also see some other pharmacists that joined. Thank you all for
Thank
joining
you.
us.
Sorry. Thank you. Yes, thank you. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us, and I hope we all enjoyed the presentation. Okay, right now I can't see any hands up. It's time for questions and comments. I can't see any hands up yet. If you want to ask any question or to contribute to the presentation, you can raise your hand, please.
Well, Pharmacy Grebe, Ahmed's hands, and Dr. Agada's hands up.
Dr. Agada's hand is up.
Okay, I can see them now. Okay, Pharmacist Gabriel, please, can you make your contribution or ask your question as the case may be?
Okay, thank you, moderator. Thank you, everyone. I listened keenly to this presentation, and I was just around with my wife, and I was asking questions. For some of us, she was hammering age 1 to 5. So I was like, some of us are a little older now. And for my children, I think all that she presented, the presenter presented, I've been able to give it to them, and I see great difference. Everything she's saying is just making sense. But when I think back on my own life, I discovered I never had those stuff. In fact, when she was talking about verbal abuse from age 1 to 5, I had enough of them. And then talk about nutrition, talk about all of that. Because of our background, the kind of parents I have, not to I wouldn't say they are let me say poor background. The question I also want to ask is, thank God we are alive and well, nothing is happening to us, but it's fearful. The presentation is a little fearful. If you didn't have all those at those stages and you are now an adult, she said something that you are as good as what you eat. But she didn't stop there. She said that's the general opium, but she said you are as good as what you eat as a child. So that sent something to me also. So being adults, or you grew and you didn't have those privileges, are there things you could do to mitigate against the unforeseen that she has mentioned? Or is it that you're eating at adulthood or choosing your diet? Like for me, at least, I'm a pharmacist, I've come up, I'm taking care of myself. Is it that those things have no impact? Because she talked about chronic diseases coming up later, or timely deaths, and and several other things. If you miss these timings and care between this age group, so if one is an adult, are there things he or she needs to do to improve what was not done at that time of life? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pharmacist Gabriel, for that comment and also the question you asked. Dr. Chinwe, over to you. Can you please respond to his question?
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for the question. You can only do what you have control, like you can only change what you have control over. For example, if as a child you had not the privilege to be fed properly and now you are an adult, God kept you till now. You are sound-minded. You are not predisposed to chronic diseases. That is God at work. What can you do? Now, because you are an adult, you have control over a very many choices you take. You can decide to feed better, like avoid things that could trigger the eruption of chronic disease conditions like hypercholesterolemia, diabetes, all those health measures we take. I mean, that's the best you can do for yourself now as an adult. But then we know the essence of the conveyance of this knowledge is now we know that some persons that now in their adulthood, they are always sick, they are always predisposed to one sickness or the other. It could be the damage that sprang from the childhood development. Are you getting it? So you don't need to beat yourself up or blame yourself. As an adult, the best you can do is you take care of yourself consciously, be conscious of your diet, and take healthy measures to be healthy. And of course, you pass it down to your children and you pass it down to the younger ones. Let them know that these things, they actually have an effect in our lives. That is what you have control over, and God does the rest. I don't know if I answered your question.
Thank you, ma. Thank you, ma.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kinwe, for that response. Dr. Echofo Agada, can you please ask your question or your comment, add your comments?
Okay, thank you very much, moderator. I want to appreciate, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, the moderator, for giving me the chance. I appreciate the presenter for what he has given to us this evening, the knowledge she has shared. My question bordered on one of the charts that was presented that compares the global acute malnutrition, severe acute malnutrition, and the rest of them among the zones, political zones. My question is, what are the factors that have contributed to the difference in figures? Is it awareness, culture, or availability of food or whatever? What could be the likely factors that contributed to the difference? Hello, can you hear me?
Hello, sir.
Yes,
Okay,
we
sir.
can
Yes,
hear
I
you.
can hear you.
Do you understand the question?
Yes, I understand your question.
Okay, thank you very much. What could be the likely factors?
Okay. I as you were just asking the question and you ended up answering the question, I just smiled. I was like, you already answered it for me. So yes, awareness tops the charts, and of course, culture. Yes. Then, of course, to some extent, to what is available to the given area or to the given region, but mostly is awareness. The reason the emphasis is on awareness is because no matter how much, I mean, nobody's asking you to that you must spend millions on the milk or on whatever it is you believe your baby needs. Naturally, we have foods in our localities. It's just for us to know how to blend it in, how to make it work, just for the sake of the child. So it's basically awareness. People don't think, they don't, is it a child? Give them anything now, may just they go. No, anything doesn't cut it. So it's largely awareness, because regardless of what the culture, there is no culture that is against feeding the child right. There is no culture against it. And whatever you have in your locality, it can still serve you if only you know how to, blend it, how to mix it up to make it work. I don't know if I answered your question, sir.
Very well, ma. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Hello, ma. Hello, ma. Can
Yes,
you hear
sir.
me? It's
Yes,
just
I
that
can
when
hear you.
I look at like awareness, I actually ask the question is that if I should feel that when you are talking about awareness, in most of the data we have from other areas, I think Southwest always come top, but from this one, it seems that some of the, because we compare with other figures in terms of education and the rest of them, it's like it's not the first case. And I begin to wonder, even where in other data, the places that are maybe placed ahead of Southwest, it's not that data, it's like their own, this is very, in terms of performance, is very low, but in terms of this, the performance is better. So that is why I'm wondering. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. moderator still there? Dr. Biajura, are you still there? Do we still have more questions?
Yes, I've been asking Dr. Anne to unmute herself. Dr. Anne, please unmute yourself and ask your question. Can you hear me? Can you hear me all?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
Dr. Anne, go ahead, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chinwe. Thank you for this presentation. At first, when I heard the title, I was like, this is almost out of pharmacy and what we do. But I'm very impressed on the way you channeled it and made us understand that we have a vital role to play. Nutrition is, of course, something that is affects everybody. And I'm very happy with today's presentation. My question is based on cholesterol, because you mentioned that for children, there should not be any restriction of cholesterol because it's important for their brain function and growth. Okay, my question on cholesterol is that what are those healthy sources of cholesterol for children? And how is breast milk and cholesterol, how are they related? Is it based on is it that the mother has to eat more things that has more cholesterol in it or something, just for the brain development? I'd like that question to be answered. Then my second question is based on passing on healthy eating habits to children. Because when we say don't restrict children from food and all that, at what age do you now say, okay, because probably a family that both parents are diabetic, and at what age do they start passing on such healthy habits, or would I say restrictions now, or let me say healthier choices to their children? At what age do you start teaching children maybe to choose one food over the other? That's my second question. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Anne. For the cholesterol, remember, for the first 2 years, that is for the first 2 years, like till they are 2 years old, don't restrict their cholesterol intake, because cholesterol plays a vital role in neurologic development. Now, I'm talking about sources. For the breast milk, the breast milk is perfect. That is how God made it. For 0 to 6 months old, the breast milk is just okay. The mother, you don't need any extra cholesterol addition to that baby's diet, in as much as you don't restrict their cholesterol diet. But as far as that 0 to 6 is concerned, the breast milk will serve just perfectly for that baby. Now, from 6 months up, when you gradually start introducing what the baby-friendly food for their age, sources of cholesterol at that point, egg could be there, egg yolk. If you mashed the egg or you mashed the yolk, is there. The cheese, butter, even the milk, this formula milk that you bring in, like maybe 1 to 6 months, 0 to 6 months, or 0 to 3 months, 6 to 9 months to 1 year, cholesterol is in it. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to deliberately go out of your way to find fat to feed that baby. The diet available for any given stage of development, the cholesterol content is just fine. I don't know if I've answered your question. For the mother, source of cholesterol, the mother doesn't have to take extra fat to get that cholesterol. What the mother needs to do is to eat healthily. Whatever healthy diet a mother can take in at any given time, the body processes it and brings out the quality in the breast milk which the baby takes. So that's about it for the cholesterol. Then for the second one, you said at which stage do we start teaching the children how to eat right, or what? Is that what you meant?
Yes, especially for situations where the family has history of diabetes or one of those such chronic illnesses.
Well, if maybe, okay, because something like diabetes or those chronic things, sometimes you have the gene factor. Yes, but then like a growing child still needs sugar. It wouldn't be fair to deprive that child of sugar because diabetes runs in the family. But then you as the mother or as the caregiver in that family, you have to also be conscious. Like one of the slides where it says avoid giving them heavily spiced, heavily sweetened. So moderation in all things. Moderation in all things. And then as they grow, that's like exposure. Like when someone asks the question about having become an adult, what can you do? Can you undo the mistake that's been done in? No, you just feed them right as they should. Don't deprive a child of anything in the diet because of any genetic disposition, anything. Rather, you just teach them to eat healthily. As they become older, they should take care of what they eat. Like a child that will always be drinking. Why would a child always be drinking soft drink all the time? At every whim, you buy him or her soft drink. You are not helping that child. There are other ways you can pacify the child without making him or her become addicted, in quotes, to sweet drinks. That's the health aspect of it. I don't know if I answered your question. There is no specific age. You come and sit a child down and start saying, hey, don't eat this anymore. Health is a lifestyle. Healthy feeding, healthy living is a lifestyle. It's something you inculcate in a child, a pattern you build the child on as the child is developing. So that when the child because it is a value you create, that value you are building into that child, it doesn't just start and end with the diet. It covers every other facet of his or her life. So you have to balance it out so that when that child grows and becomes a man, he or she will be able to just take his or her stand and run with it. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chinwe, for answering that question very clearly. Before I take the next hand up, I want to handle one of the questions in the chat. Pharmacist Vivian Chukweke says, thank you so much for the presentation. Please, what significant role do all the many varieties of children multivitamin supplements we have on our shelves play in averting any of the negative outcomes? Pediatricians hardly recommend them, but pharmacists do recommend them. Dr. Chinwe, please, can you help us answer that question?
Okay, ma'am. Basically, these multivitamins, they are supplements. Okay. The reason is they usually come in. Ideally, there shouldn't be need for them if a baby or a child is feeding right. Now, you would also observe that whenever it is coming in, there is an anomaly it's coming in to correct. For example, a parent comes to tell you, my baby doesn't eat, has poor appetite, maybe it's habitual, maybe it's acute. I just want to get the baby to eat. That parent is worried that because the baby is not feeding well, he or she may be missing out on the nutrients he or she is supposed to get from feeding right. So you see the pharmacist recommending an appetite stimulant or a multivitamin, something to trigger hunger or to trigger appetite, something to trigger the child's appetite to actually eat food. It is coming in temporarily to correct something, after which there wouldn't be need for it anymore. Now, secondly is because of our area, do I use our region or our climate, so to say? The truth of the matter is that if you looked around us, there seems to be not much anymore. Like it's the same foods, the same rice, the same beans, you know, it's just rotating. Is the same eba, the same gari, you know, stuff like that. So someone could be like, and the person is not wrong. So what if I from time to time, I gave my child something to just supplement the diet, just in case the baby is not getting enough? I don't condemn such thoughts. Those are likely places where I believe these supplements do come in. Pediatricians don't recommend them if the baby is feeding well, or maybe say a child just suffered from severe fever or sepsis or malaria at the end of the treatment. The pediatrician would definitely add something, a supplement, just to help correct what went wrong during the time that child suffered. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but that is my understanding of how it works. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chinwe. In addition to what you have said, I think more of these newborns, because it's a culture in Nigeria for most mothers, when a baby is born, at that point, they start giving multivitamin drop, cod liver oil, and even gripe water, even while they are breastfeeding. When the breast milk already has everything the baby needs, they still go ahead like it's a normal culture to give babies those multivitamins. So I think that's where the problem is. But when our colleague says pediatricians do not recommend this multivitamin syrup, I really don't think it's actually, I've seen a lot of prescriptions from pediatricians, especially for children that are no longer breastfeeding, that are feeding, as in they've started eating normal foods and all that. You know, most times mothers come back from the hospital and they have those multivitamins on their prescription. Pharmacist Vivian, I hope your question has been answered very well by Dr. Chinwe. Pharmacist Vivian, are you okay? You can unmute yourself.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
I call on Dr. Eugene Okwanaso to ask his question or make his input.
Yes, thank you very much. I want to thank Dr. Chinwe for that presentation, and the host too. Personally, I've learned a lot. My question is with regards to counseling our role. Oftentimes, you see young mothers, they will come to the pharmacy and you counsel them on the benefits of breastfeeding for 6 months, WHO guidelines and so. But some of them, especially among the elites, they will tell you point blank, no, for psychedelic reasons, I will not do it. I will only, and working class too, I will only do 1 month or 2, then start a formula milk. So what I'm asking, how can we navigate, or how can we make this information clearer to them? Because some of them are educated, they are elites. They will tell you, oh, their breasts will go down and go. But I think the benefits of that 6 months outweighs those psychedelic reasons. Secondly, I want to observe too, it may be a little digression. I want to ask, we see some behavioral diseases or disorders like autism spectrum disorder, hyperactivity disorders, and so. I want to ask whether there's a correlate between malnutrition, maybe chronic malnutrition by the mother, and the outcome. What I'm saying is that there's a parody now. You find out that like autism spectrum disease, I'm digressing a bit, it's common with the super rich. And some of those people, I mean, the poorest of the poor, they don't usually have it. So I want, if you can make this issue clearer, I can't understand the parody, you know. Hello?
Thank you, Dr. Eugene. Dr. Chinwe, can you please respond?
Okay, for the first one, he said he was asking the psychedelic reasons and all that. Actually, there is like there's a limit to what you can you do. What you owe someone is information. When you release the information, the person is at liberty to use it or to not use it. You cannot force or you cannot impose an action plan on an individual when actually it is totally in that individual's power to carry out the action or not. So yes, as far as awareness goes, we educate, we tell people they need to know these things. Now, when such a person still decides, I don't want to breastfeed my baby for 6 months because of my work or because I don't want my breast to sag, even though the truth of the matter is that breast will still sag. It must. It's only a matter of time. But then, I mean, there is nothing you can do. And those elites, like you said, they have what it takes. He can tell you he doesn't mind paying millions and billions to get the best formula in the world to feed that baby while he or she is refusing to breastfeed and all. But the point is, that part is not within your control. You can't control it. So just accept the one you can control and play safe along that line and leave the rest for God and for the individual involved. I hope I answered your question.
Yes.
Then secondly,
Yes.
you asked about the autism and maybe hyperactive disorder. Okay, so if we decided to use autism as a case study, every disease has risk factors. Like every disease has risk factors and triggers. For the autism now, low birth weight is a risk factor, and maternal history of infections or other things could be a risk factor. Now, whatever disease has a risk factor that is in relationship with the diet of the mother, it can always feature in that child. But then it's not all. Low birth weight, that is not all. So what if the baby's weight is right, but other things are wrong? Autism could still happen. I don't know if I'm making sense. So it's while the diet is important, we won't have to blame everything on the diet. So if we get the diet right and other things that are within our control right, however it now plays out, of course, we trust God to see us through. We trust God's grace to see us through. I mean, there are people that have everything right, but then it's as if things are still going left for them. So that's what I have to say about that. So in as much as, yes, if you miss the early child development, in the early childhood development, like the first 1,500 days of life, we have emphasized on the need to feed them right, appropriately. You do that, then other things that are also within your control, as far as care and upkeep for that baby is concerned, you play your role there. Other things that are outside your control, there is really not much you can do about it. I hope I've answered your question on this too.
Yes, yes, sir. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay, I now call on Pharmacist Chinwe Onyeka to make her contribution.
Hello, everybody. Most of the comments and questions I wanted to ask has been dealt with from Okwanas, for Dr. Okwanas. But I'll still comment anyway. Chinwe, congratulations on this brilliant lecture. Like you said, whatever you will be, we start from when you're young. Whatever you're fed with. I'm happy to say that Chinwe did her internship under me at National Orthopedic Hospital in Enugu many years ago. And she was quite brilliant, and she will always say the truth of the matter. I heard her say it a few minutes ago because I was expecting that, the truth of the matter. I still remember that's her favorite phrase. So now, talking about awareness. Yes, Dr. Oku Anaso said that they usually counsel mothers in the pharmacy. Is it possible, not just in the pharmacy, but going to the wards and maybe the clinics to let them know about feeding the children right from the start? So I don't know how it will be done. And I wish it is possible. I wish I knew what I know now from this lecture. So let us make it possible for everybody, all parents, all young mothers, to know the nutritional value that we should have on our children. Thank you. I'm done.
Thank you, Ma, for that contribution. I think for inside the hospitals, I think the nurses during antenatal, I think they usually give these talks about breastfeeding and all to the intending mothers during their antenatal. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but I think
it may
part
not
of their
be as
lecture.
extensive as the one Chinwe gave us now.
You're right, Ma. But the truth is that there's another aspect we also need to look at. Apart from maybe those that feel that their breast may fall, which is not actually right and all that, there's actually some working mothers that can't afford to do that exclusive 6 months breastfeeding after their maternity leave and they need to resume work. I know fine they can express and all that, but I don't know how much the expressing for the babies will be enough to last the baby before the mom comes back from work. So some of them are not able to sustain it because of work. That's why some may not be able to do that exclusive breastfeeding to like 6 months. I think so too. Okay, I now call on Pharmacist Samuel Adamatie to make his contribution or ask his question. Pharmacist Samuel, please unmute yourself.
Good evening, everybody. Yes, good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
Good evening. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, my name is Dr. Adamatie Samuel. I'm a community pharmacist practicing the FCC. Pharmacist Chinwe, thank you very much. I didn't join from the beginning, but I know I got some things. And I also heard when we were asking some questions about, someone said dry portal. Like, that's where even my question is coming from. I wanted to ask, what is the role of these supplements? Those particular drugs we give to babies during the developmental stage, between the 1 to 4 months, Gryporta, Infacor, Nospamin. In the past, I've known that doctors don't want to use it, nurses don't like to use it. And so they tell patients not to use it. Even myself, I encourage patients not to use it. But when I had my child, I did that same method of not using it, but I found out that it didn't work until I tried it. And what I was trying to avoid, it was taken care of. So I begin to wonder, is there any scientific basis why they say they shouldn't use it, and what is our take on it, on those guys for that? They say it doesn't work, but you use it and you see that you're getting the response you're looking for. So how is that it doesn't work? Why is that it's not important? Because it doesn't work, it doesn't do anything, but you use it to get an effect. So I wanted to know what is that when it comes to the developmental stage of the child. Those dry potter or Spamin or Infac. Sorry, I mentioned their brand name. That's one. Then two, can you speak on this myth on when people tell you breastfeeding for a period of time makes the child more intelligent than using normal formula that you get from the pharmacy or therapist? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Samuel. Dr. Chinwe, please, can you respond?
Okay, his first question, he's asking about the gripe water and the Infacol combo, right?
Well,
not necessarily the combo. Not necessarily combination. They use them. They use the individual. It's used. Yes, okay. It's used.
Okay, basically, it is believed that newborns usually experience colics, which is as a result of having excess gas in the GI. So it could cause that discomfort. That's what they call the infant colic pains. Infacol ideally should work because it contains simeticone, a surfactant. So it helps to relieve the discomfort that results from that gas and then the discomfort it causes the baby. It's simeticone and it is safe. But gripe water, on the other hand, it has water, of course, it has herbs and it has baking soda. Ideally, Infacol should give result. It is gripe water that I may question its effectiveness based on the cause of the colic and the approach being used to address it. Infacol, which is simeticone, should be able to. So if you use the Infacol and you got result, actually Infacol should give you result. But the gripe water, because of the things it contains, the water, the herbs, and basically it has oil, ginger, and some other things like that. Some of these things, you don't even know how the baby may react to them. That is where, if you don't get results, you may ask why. Then for some persons, they tell you that we've used all we can use, and then at the end of the day, baby is still having it. What do we? Some even look for Buscopan to give. What's that brand again? What's that? Nospamin.
Nospamin drug.
Yes, and at the end of the day, the baby is still experiencing the colic pain. So if I am to recommend, I'll simply say you go for Infacol for that colic pain, or look for any formulation of simeticone. That brand, I think there's another one, Colibel, is still simeticone, rather than going for the gripe water or the other ones. Then for your second question, I think, could you just briefly remind me what your second question is, Dr. Samuel?
Okay, I was saying that you hear this myth that breast milk or breastfeeding the child for a long period of time tends to make the child more intelligent than those that don't usually breastfeed their kids for a long time using the breastfeed or different formulas. I don't know if that's a myth or how true that is. I want to speak to that.
Is a myth. Is a myth. Breastfeeding, guys, like if I should put it based on, you can say maybe an exclusively breastfed child turns out more intelligent than a non-exclusively breastfed child, isn't it?
Yes,
it's a myth. Is a myth. I mean, we know it. There are children that they for some reason, I mean, what about those that lost their mother at birth? And today they are making inventions, very intelligent. I mean, they're there. So it's a myth, it's not a reality. What is reality is that breast milk has its benefits. And that is why we promote it. That is why we encourage mothers to do it. it has its benefits. So when you want to convince a mother to go on exclusive breastfeeding, you have to give her these real benefits. The bonding, the boosting of the immunity, these things are real. But if the child, assuming, I'm just laughing, I don't know. If the parents are olodo and they are not able to train their children well, even if the baby is breastfed exclusively for 1 year, the child will still turn out olodo. Remember, I said something. It is what you feed a child that the child becomes. It is not just in nutrition. There must be a balance. So the balance has to be right for you to get what you want. There are children that they are fed everything they need to be fed nutritionally because the money is there, but the training is not there. The value impartation is not there. And they grow up to become a menace to the society. But they were fed well. The feeding was right. The feeding nutritionally was right, but every other aspect of the feeding was wrong. And then the individual turned out wrong. So it's a myth. It's a myth. That's what I can say about that. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chinwe. In other words, you're saying we should feed both the body, the mind, the brain, feed the baby holistically, or feed the children holistically, so that they can turn out right.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay, I think that's the last hand up, but let me take one of the questions from the chat. This is from pharmacist Yetunde Aromiwura. She says, I offer pharmaceutical service in the community. Exclusive breastfeeding is advocated till 6 months, but some babies are not satisfied from 4 months and like to try family food. If not offered, then they are no longer as willing and more tuned to breast milk and cereals. So it becomes difficult to introduce them to other meals later. Please, what is your take on this, please?
I'm trying to understand that question. Okay, like you started. Yeah. Is it like you started breastfeeding exclusively and maybe at 4 months, the baby no longer wants just breast milk. The baby is eager to eat other things. And then the mother says, no, you must remain on breast milk for 6 months. And now baby gets to 6 months, only for you to start bringing in other foods and the baby starts rejecting it. Is that what the question?
Yes, I think that's what she's trying to say. That the baby wants other types of food, but they are refused to the baby. So the baby now gets used to breast milk and cereals, and it becomes difficult to now introduce other meals later.
Okay, I think, that means cereals have come in at some point. It is the other foods that is the problem, because cereal has come in, so they are past the exclusive stage. So it is the other foods that's the problem. What I would say, I mean, there are also more experienced mothers in here that can bring their contribution, but from the little I know, babies, they love to explore. They love to explore. If the baby is constantly fed only cereal, it is actually the feeder, the person feeding the baby is the one that I will say, na you cosam, in quote. Babies love to explore. If you brought your soup, light soup, not heavily spiced, just let the baby have a taste of it. Sometimes you may have your apple, cut a bit, mash it, give to the baby. Your avocado, mash it. I mean, we have to be creative about these things. If you presented it in one format, baby rejected it. You can find your way around it, present it in another way. The baby may not accept banana from you, but if it becomes a smoothie, the baby may take it. I'm just saying. So it's just for God to give us the wisdom to help us be creative in the presentation of that other meal such that the baby can accept it. You know, that's what I have to say.
Okay, thank you, Ma, for the response. I think that's the last question. Other comments here are from pharmacist Olumide Soyemi, says, very concise and educative presentation. Pharmacist Chineze says, very confidently delivered. Thank you so much. Pharmacist BC Bright says to you, thank you for a very good paper, very confidently delivered. Dr. Magnus Mopara says, thanks so much, baby-friendly pharmacist. Dr. Timipre says, baby-friendly pharmacist, thank you so much, Dr. Odeka. I love your voice too. Okay, I think that's all. Dr. Echofo says, excellent answers to questions. Thanks a lot, Dr. Chinwe. We thank you so much for today's presentation. Thank you for imparting so much knowledge on us. I didn't actually know that malnutrition in children was so high in Nigeria presently. This presentation has actually opened my eyes to the burden of malnutrition in Nigeria. Thanks a lot for opening our eyes to what we need to do in our communities, in our homes, and everywhere we find ourselves as pharmacists. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mom. It's an honor to be here in the midst of learned minds. Thank you for the opportunity to serve. Thank you.
In the absence of any other questions or comments, I think we will round up our presentation now. I call on Dr. Anne Imoro to give us the closing prayer. Dr. Anne.
In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Yes. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this awesome presentation. Thank you for the presenter. Thank you for the moderator. And thank you for the beautiful platform created by CPAN to educate and enlighten us and empower us in ways that we never thought possible. Heavenly Father, we ask that this knowledge that you have given to us today will mix with action and transform homes and families in Jesus' name. Father, we ask for good night's rest and also the promotion of CPAN and clinical pharmacies in Nigeria and great remunerations, great profitability of our profession in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
And thank you very
Good
much,
night,
Dr. Anne. Sorry, I should have called on Dr. Motihat. The national chairman is not here. I think I should have called on Dr. Motihat, the national secretary, to give us a vote of thanks. Dr. Motihat, please, can you unmute yourself and give vote of thanks before we close?
And remarks too.
Yes, vote of thanks and closing remarks. Dr. Motihat, can you unmute yourself, please? Okay, it seems probably she's no longer with us. I call on Dr. Timipre. Dr. Timipre, please, can you give us the closing remarks and vote of thanks?
All right, thank you. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. I just want to thank you so much, Dr. Chinwe, for this wonderful presentation. Really appreciate it. Dr. Madu is unavoidably absent. We want to thank you so much, and then we expect that when we call on you next time, we know that you are going to willingly oblige us. Thank you so much, everyone, for actually coming. Our presentations are every Fridays, and then the third Friday of the month we have special editions. Then the last Friday we have state presentations. So that means by next week we are also expecting a presentation same time. Thank you so much, everyone. Good night, all. Have a good night's rest, sweet dreams. Good night.
Good night. Thank you, Dr. Timipre. Thank you all for participating. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chinwe.
Good night.
Presenter.